Young men today are nearly 3 times more likely to have fertility issues than older generations, with one estimate predicting that the average sperm count will be approaching 0 in just 20 years' time.
Hi, welcome back to another React. We are about to watch a snippet from Loose Women where they discuss whether or not we should be teaching boys more about fertility. Now, as a mom of 2 boys, this is something that I am particularly interested in, and probably will have some quite strong reactions if previous conversations are anything to go by. So I'm excited to watch this. Before we start watching, please feel free to like, subscribe, share, or comment kindly below.
Now, a shocking new study has found that young men today are nearly 3 times more likely to have fertility issues than older generations, with one estimate predicting that the average sperm count will be approaching 0 in just 20 years' time.
I mean, now that is actually quite scary.
3 times more likely.
3 times. Oh my gosh. What do you think it's all those microplastics, isn't it? What do you think it is?
Laptops on laps.
Probably.
It's the testicles.
Yeah.
Learned that one from Debbie Evans, our clinical and compliance director.
As somebody who spent my entire 4 years of university typing papers on my lap.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have testicles, but I do
Hot
kind of
tubs.
worry. Oh,
Yeah. Hot
tight
tubs.
pants.
Tight pants. Yeah, all of that impacts. But what is
Wow.
the reasons? Why is that so high?
I don't know. Hopefully they'll tell us.
As it's estimated, male infertility contributes to 50% of all cases. Should men and even teen boys be taught more about their bodies? Now, this is something that you're very interested in, isn't it, Mike?
Yeah, again, I've just mentioned that I look at female fertility, but that actually coincides, because it does take 2 to tango, with male fertility. We haven't even got that far yet, because we're still dealing with what women have, those challenges with the healthcare system. But ultimately, I've had to learn the hard way, as have many women. If your partner, you might think he's super strong and fit, if he's on a cycle all the time, is riding a bike, that will be affecting his fertility. Also, if they're a lorry driver.
Will it definitely,
if
or will
they're
it
doing
just
it to
be
an
a
extent,
higher...
Sorry. My American brain, she said a bike, and I immediately thought a bicycle. I was like, bicycles?
What was she referring to?
I assumed she was referring to like a motorcycle or a motorbike.
Oh, okay.
I heard bike and I was like,
lorry
oh my
driver.
God, the bicycles, not the bicycle, sorry.
risk.
it's definitely a higher risk,
Yeah.
for sure. And if you suddenly thought, well, if I'm going to impart this onto my future child, you would definitely think twice. Same with
Like
the
computers.
computers on laptops, anything with heat, saunas, hot baths.
Yeah,
drinking
it's sort
coffee.
of causal links, isn't it? It's not
The
necessarily
placenta is
a given.
developed because of the guy's genetics, not the woman's. And we sit there after our miscarriages or the struggles to get pregnant thinking it's all us, and it really isn't. And that genetic information that the men are imparting and passing down onto our children, they are just as responsible. So they might think they might have done their part. They will have to live with the consequences of whatever choices they've made prior to you getting pregnant.
So you think it should be in
It's essential.
schools? Yeah.
It's essential.
course.
I mean,
And
grown
it's
women
like-
don't know.
That's really interesting there. It's essential there to come into schools.
Yeah.
So what is the answer? Where does that education start? It needs to start in schools.
Completely agree.
It's not just women that, is to blame there
Yeah.
for fertility struggles, fertility issues, struggles with conceiving. It's obvious now that it's almost 50-50 there.
Yeah.
And boys, then men, are then having fertility issues.
Yeah.
So that needs to come in schools.
Yeah.
And that there is obvious that it needs to be brought in.
Well, this is
So
the thing.
why isn't it? How do you then bring that into schools to stop this from having an impact?
Yeah.
Why birth rates are declining? Because boys are now having fertility issues. There's your answer.
Yeah.
So why isn't it being brought into schools?
I don't know. I mean, I also don't know what. To me, this is the way that they're framing it is really interesting. That it's and maybe I just misheard it, but they're almost framing it as in it is now become apparent that men contribute to up to 50%. Well, I know they're talking about that in kind of conjunction with the declining sperm health, but surely men have always contributed to fertility issues. So it's not just now that they're starting to contribute. So I thought the way that they framed that was really interesting. But also, I'm surprised that it's even I'm still surprised that this is a debate, that boys should be learning about fertility issues alongside girls.
Yeah.
I think nobody has really been taught about fertility issues.
No.
And it shouldn't be just a girl thing. It should be a boy thing. But why the debate? It just boggles my mind that there's still this, oh, well, boys don't need to know about it.
Yeah, but they do.
But they clearly do. They clearly do. And why it hasn't been brought into schools yet.
Yeah. No,
don't know.
It just, like you say, it baffles my mind. Like, the statistics are there, the birth rates are declining.
Mm-hmm.
So why isn't anybody doing anything about it to educate our young children that this is what you need to be aware of and this is what you need to do?
Yeah. Not even just young children, older teens, young adults as well.
Yeah, all the way through.
Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised that they're surprised.
It's like, I've echoed what Mylene said. My mum's always spoken about that to me, to be fair, and I think it's crazy that we've gone for so long believing that the male's behaviour before conception, in terms of their lifestyle, their diet, does not have an impact on the baby. Like, that's insane. And now we have the science to prove that it does. And it doesn't surprise me to see that stat, because you think about the way so many young people are living, men, with diet and vaping and just the general, our lifestyles are unhealthy. Of course it's going to have an effect. And I think young men should be, taught at a young age how to look after their health, and then in turn their fertility and their future children.
And it's not even necessarily it is about fertility.
What age do you think this needs to be implemented from? What age do you think is
appropriate
age to start educating boys?
It's hard, isn't it? Because you want to start them early enough that it becomes a natural part of the conversation. You don't want it to surprise them or anything, but
Primary school?
Primary school, I think. As they start learning about their bodies, right?
Yeah.
And by the time they're 6 or 7, I think they're obviously in age appropriate ways, but there's ways to be talking about it.
Look, my daughter's 7 and she's aware of her body.
Yeah.
And that's from my education now and what I'm aware of. I teach her around her body.
Which is amazing.
So as she's then in year 3 and year 4, I think that's then an appropriate time to start educating her in ways around her body and what she needs to do.
In the curriculum, because my kids are only in reception and year 1, but they haven't had kind of that body biology lesson as your daughter.
No, she hasn't mentioned anything at school.
I think they should.
But I think it's really
important.
Get into key stage 2 at school, which I think is 3 and 4.
Sure.
I think. Might have to check that.
Take the word on it.
That's when they need to start educating around this.
Well, and they're also very aware, even at that young age, of differences between, people with male autonomy and people with people with male anatomy and people with female anatomy. I can't even say that word. Because my kids will bust into me when I'm going to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And will say, oh, why, you're different.
Yeah.
Why are you different? What happens there? Yeah. And, so I think even from that young age at home, and actually would be great for parents who aren't in our line of work, who aren't used to be talking about fertility and bodily stuff all the time. It would be great to have resources for parents to be able to introduce it at home young. Because otherwise, by the time you get to school, I mean, when I still remember I was 10 years old and we had kind of our first at school biology lesson. People started talking about penis, the teacher would talk about penis and the entire class would erupt in laughter.
Yeah.
So it was such an unfamiliar and I don't want to say taboo topic, but at that age, it's silly if it's not something that has become the norm to talk about. So I feel actually having at home resources, we have Pantosaurus, we have resources to teach our kids about lots of uncomfortable conversations. Maybe let's have some at-home resources to talk about different anatomies, different lifestyles, and different ways or different lifestyles in keeping your body healthy, keeping your body clean. These are ways to help
It's just
when you're
body awareness, isn't
Yes.
it? That's what it is at that age, years 3 and years 4, years 5, as you go up, it's your body awareness. And it's just following that maturity, isn't it, as you go through primary school.
Absolutely.
Growing with that maturity.
Yeah, and I think that there's...
So then when you get in high school, it's not that laughter then you start talking, like you say, around penises and, more in-depth body parts.
Yeah.
It's not going to erupt in laughter because they're more aware of it.
I agree.
I think that's where it starts.
I agree. I completely agree. And I think you're right that it needs to start in primary school, because there's a lot of research across different areas of topics that kind of like the younger you start talking about it, just the more ingrained in everyday life it becomes and the less sensationalized it becomes. So why not for something as simple and as basic as biology and keeping yourself healthy?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Watch this space, Jess.
Yeah, but also it's the quality of that sperm.
Yes.
If it is fertile, is it good? Is it good stuff? Have you looked after it like I've looked after my eggs?
Yeah.
Did you stop drinking for 6 months? I didn't, by
Is
the way.
it good wavy gravy, as they call it?
Has it gone wavy gravy? We want you to stop drinking. We want you to stop smoking. We want you to stop taking drugs. We want you to stop all these things if we're going to, because we are making... No, well, that seems a bit extreme.
No, it's true.
I don't think I'll do that.
The balls.
But then I think it goes
Boil
on.
them.
A little steamed balls. But then I think it goes on to when you're actually pregnant as well, because for 9 months you can't have a piece. You didn't even know you can't have soft cheese, wine, fags, anything. You're not supposed to have it. So I think it would be really good if men did that with you, because I think they would feel more connected to that baby, because they're actually doing something.
But so much of men, young boys' self-worth is wrapped up in what they perceive to be their virility, isn't it?
Of course. We challenge it, but then as soon as you then say, well, look, as soon as there's challenges with the placenta, for example, that's okay.
That's actually a really good point. So much of young boys' self-worth is wrapped up in their virility.
Mm-hmm.
And it just becomes then even more of a taboo subject, because people don't, and men and boys don't realize that this is natural for it not to be necessarily 100%. I mean, at those rates that they're talking about, it's probably going to become the norm for people to have fertility issues rather than
It'll just increase.
Yeah. So I think it's the psychological side of it is almost worse for men in a way, because they just don't talk about it.
No.
And it's so wrapped up in their image of themselves.
Yeah. And also, it's like your trends, isn't it, for men, like for boys? It's like what's trending, what's on social media, what's on TikTok. You walk around the streets, we're in Birmingham, walk around the streets of Birmingham and you see young teens with vapes.
Yeah.
Or you see young teens in groups. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, what's out there now? What's the trends? What do I follow? And I think boys are more influenced than girls.
Exactly. Like all these guys going to the gym and taking like their steroids and what these powders that they're taking, like what are in those powders? What impact does that have?
And I think if you're at school and you're telling them about fertility issues, they won't necessarily think of the impact that has, because their heads won't be there.
Yeah.
And I think it's just educating. The more you can educate around, well, if you do this now, that is going to impact then, and you think about this, and then that will have an impact for your children, and creating children. Like, do you know what I mean? It's that ladder, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And do you think, they haven't talked about this yet, and maybe they will, but obviously, like for women, we're kind of born with our cohort of eggs and that's it. But for men, it's kind of like a 3-month cycle. And I do wonder if they teach that it's 3 months in school, then boys and men might just have this thought, well, I can do this stuff now, and then when I want to have a baby, I'll just have 3 months and it'll fix it all, it'll go back to 100%.
Yeah, that's probably how they'll view it. Not that it's gonna, what you do now will have impacts as you get older.
Yeah.
They would just probably view it, like you say, in 3 months.
Okay, so definitely
it's around education.
100%.
To you guys, so you have to have a better understanding, as do women, that it really is a 50-50 agreement.
I mean, that's why I think it's so... Do you remember Gordon Ramsay talking about the fact that he spent so much time in front of hot ovens, it affected his fertility? Yeah. And I think when somebody like him comes out and talks about that, it's a really good thing.
Because you wouldn't know if they're not told these boys, then how are they going to know?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're back with new research.
Completely agree with that, actually. Because there's a lot of women who have come out and talked about their fertility issues. And I know for a lot of people, that's really kind of like helped open it up to mainstream. But if men aren't talking about it, or if it's only women talking about their partners as opposed to their partners coming out and talking about it themselves.
Yeah. And I think the more people can talk, like you say, the more we talk at home about it, the more we talk at school, the more education and resources we can put in, I think we can then decline those rates. But unless it starts and that education's there, that those rates are only going to increase.
Yeah, I agree. Start them early.
Start them early.
Start them early. Right. Well, thank you for watching another episode of React. We hope you enjoyed it. Is this a conversation or something that you've thought about, whether you are a parent of young boys, a boy or a man yourself? Are you a teacher who has thought that maybe you should be talking about fertility younger, but don't necessarily have the resources or know how to do it? We'd love to hear from you. Please make sure these are kind comments only. This is a safe space and we'd love to have a discussion. So please feel free to like, subscribe, share, and comment kindly. And thank you for watching.